All right, 12.5, here we go. Solve problems involving measurement data on a line plot. So we're doing more with line plots, just some different problem solving, interpreting those line plots, figuring out what they're saying, etc. So hopefully by the end, you'll be able to say, I can solve problems using data in a line plot and perform operations on the data. Remember, they're just ways to organize the data that makes it a little easier to see what's going on versus just a table with all the numbers. A tortilla maker puts 4.5 cups of cornmeal in 10 bowls. The line plot shows the amount of cornmeal in each of 9 bowls. How much cornmeal is in the 10th bowl? So here's the line plot. Here's the 9 bowls represented. And then we're trying to figure out that 10th bowl. I put the word problem protocol there in case that's helpful to you to remind yourself of the different steps, making sure we understand the problem, rereading it, thinking about how we're going to solve it, sort of what operation we need to do, or operations. So what would be the first step, do you think? If we're trying to figure out that missing piece, what should we do first? All right, hopefully you thought we need to determine the amount of cornmeal in the 9 bowls. So if we figure out how many are in, so imagine this is all 10 bowls. If we figure out how much is in the 9, then we should be able to figure out this part that is missing. So first we'll add up all the ones we have to figure out what's there, and then we can subtract to find the missing part. Now, I know it's fractions. Don't be scared. So, how I would do it is I would think, okay, if this is a fourth, well, then this would be half of that, which is an eighth, right? Because 1/4 is the same as 2/8. So, half of that is 1/8. So, I have 1/8 and 1/8. So, these two right here represent 1/8 and 1/8. So, I have 2/8. That's my first one. Here and here, I have 1/4 and 1/4. So that's 2/4. But actually, I think it's easier if I think of them all as eighths. So like this is 2/8. That's 3/8. There's none there. This is 4/8. 5/8. 6/8. And then 8/8. So then I can figure out how many eighths I have. So there's 2/8. This is another 2, that's another 2, so that's 4/8 in that column. Here I have 4, 4, and 4, so that's 12/8. Here I have another 6/8, and then I have another 8/8. So I can add those all together. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 12 is 18, plus 6 is 24, plus 8 is 32. So altogether, I have 32/8. Now, either thinking about it or on your calculator, you can do the division, because remember, fractions are just dividing, or another way to think about them is dividing. So 32 divided by 8. So that, the x's there, those 9 bowls, represent 4 cups. Now, it told us that there was 4.5 in the whole thing. So if there's in all 10. So if there's 4.5 in all 10, and there's 4 in this last one, there's 4.5 in all 10. There's 4 in 9 of them. So what does that missing part have to be? Well, I can do 4.5 minus 4 gives me 1/2. 4.5 minus 4 equals 1/2 a cup in that last bowl. So the fraction part of it, I know might have been tricky, but hopefully you got, okay, we needed to add them all together, subtract the total from that to figure out that missing part. We do the same thing if we're saying like, I bought all these things and then I gave them this much change or this dollar bill. How much change do I get? Well, I can add up what I know, subtract from that last part to find out the missing piece. So they're just writing it a different way. They're doing some multiplying, but essentially they did what we did and they added them all together to get the 4 cups. Then to determine the last one, they subtracted. That equation was 4.5 minus 4. Same thing we did. And we got 1/2. That last one has 1/2 in it. So in your notes, there's some blanks, so I want you to fill those in. You can solve problems by interpreting information. That's the first blank. So interpreting information given in line plots, and then performing operations. So we're interpreting it, we're figuring out what it means, and then we're doing those operations, adding, subtracting, whatever it might be to help us find our answer. All right, so one I'm going to have you try. So based on the line plot, what is the difference between the greatest amount of cornmeal in a bowl and the least amount of cornmeal in a bowl? Go ahead and give it a try. All right, hopefully you got the greatest is 1. The least is 1/8. And the difference between that, well, 1 is the same thing as 8/8, right? So 8/8 minus 1/8 equals 7/8. And it's in cups. So 7/8 of a cup. All right, for this, sorry, I just thought maybe my video stopped and I didn't want to be talking to myself here. All right, the line plot shows the weights of various mice. Again, maybe it's a pet store, maybe it's some sort of lab. Use the line plot to answer the questions. What is the combined weight of the 4 lightest mice? Go ahead and try. All right, hopefully you got it, or hopefully you at least knew, okay, I should be adding these 4 together. These are each 1/4, right? So those together is 3/4. And then I have 3/8 right here. So I'm doing 3/4 plus 3/8. Well, I can multiply by 2 for this and get 6/8. 6/8 plus 3/8 is 9/8, which is the same thing as 1 and 1/8. Little review from our fraction unit. Now you're going to want to keep this in mind, so maybe write it on your paper if you haven't already, because we're going to need to use it for a later problem. All right, what is the combined weight of the mice that weigh 3/4 ounces? What is the combined weight of all the mice that weigh 3/4 ounces? Go ahead and try. All right, hope you got it. These are all the mice that weigh 3/4 ounces. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, right? So if each of them is 3/4, well, 3 times 5 is going to be 15/4. Or I could do 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus, right? Like 3/4, 6/4, 9/4, 12/4, 15/4. And then 4, 12, or 4, 8, 12, that's 3 wholes. And then I have 3/4 extra. So that's 3 3/4 ounces. Again, if you're having trouble with the fraction part of it, at least make sure you're understanding like which ones I'm adding together, right? That is important. So make a note of that as well, that those middle x's are 3 3/4. Because now, what's the combined weight of all the mice? Give it a try. All right, hopefully you got it. Remember, these were 1 1/8. These were 3 3/4. And then I have 7/8, and then these 2 over here. So, let's go over here because there's 2 of those. So 1 1/4, there's 1 1/4 plus 1 1/4. So that's going to be 2 2/4. I'm not going to simplify it just yet because I have some more work that I need to do. I'm going to take, I could just add them all at once. I'm going to do it in steps. So I'm going to take 2 2/4 plus 3 3/4, giving me 5 5/4. Yes, I know it's improper. Again, we're just going to bear with me for a minute. Let's change that into eighths because the other two are in eighths. So if I do times 2 times 2, that's going to be 5 10/8. Oops. All right. Plus another 7/8, right? From down here, from this little mouse right here. So I'm going to get 5 17/8. I'm going to do 5 17/8. Add to my 1 1/8 over here. So I'm going to get 6 18/8. Lots of steps on this one. Now 18/8 is the same thing as 2 2/8, right? Because 8, 16, that's 2 groups of 8. I have then 2 extra. So if I take this plus my 6, then I'll get 8 2/8, which is the same thing as 8 1/4. Whew! That was a lot of math. If you hung in there with me, good for you. If not, that's okay. That was a lot of adding fractions. But again, hopefully you see that I took the value of each data point or x on my line plot and added them together. All right. All right. The line plot shows the amount of rain that fell each day in a week. Use the line plot to answer the questions. So it's in inches each day. How many days did it rain during the week? All right, this was a little tricky. Notice that this day, it didn't rain at all, so we shouldn't count that x for this question. We just should see how many x's were there other than that, where there actually was rain. So that's why it is 6 days and not 7, even though there are 7 x's. And then what is the total amount of rainfall? I won't make you do this one, but we could add all the points together. So 0 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/2 plus 5/8 plus 5/8 plus 3/4. That would give me the total amount of rain. If you need help on your worksheet, make sure you ask. Good luck.